Tessa, thank you very much for joining the program and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Tessa, you teach Xhosa. When did you start learning the language?
I only started learning it when I was 24 because I had initially dropped out of university, didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I just thought, what have you always loved in your life? And I thought, I loved hearing people speak African languages. I mean, I was a strange little girl listening to people, wondering what they were laughing about, wondering how they were coping with apartheid in the 1960s. You know, what was going on? I kind of knew that it was in a way a subversive activity sometimes, that people could go into a language that no white person understood. And so when I went back to university, having saved up money to go, I thought, I'm going to learn Xhosa.
Many of us grew up speaking English and Afrikaans. The Xhosa speakers or the other language speakers spoke their home language. We spoke our home language. But Xhosa was not part of the school environment, so we didn't learn it. Now, why should anyone learn Xhosa? Because most Xhosa speakers understand English or Afrikaans.
I think that is the common perception, that most Xhosa speakers or Zulu speakers, Sotho speakers, who, by the way, make up 78% of the population, speak an African language as a first language, do understand English. But many times they don't. If you go to any rural area, if you're involved with any development group that is going into the Eastern Cape, into rural areas, they don't understand much English. And so for one of those reasons would be, if you've got a job that is involving people at that level and trying to get people on board with something that you're doing, you just get a blank if you don't speak an African language. And it is also, but far more than that, even to me, is the respect that you're showing. Because if you do, or if you are able to speak to somebody in their language and they have taken the trouble to learn your language, and I do feel that with Afrikaans speakers, that, you know, at least I did it up to matric, but and you can say something. But the fact that there is, with many white South Africans, a complete blank with the language of African language speakers, they don't meaningfully want to be disrespectful, but sometimes it could come across that you can't say a word. So it would be, to me, for respect, to be able to do things that you want to do in communities in which English is not the top language, is not a language that they understand. And yeah, friendship. I mean, I think that becoming friends with people just helps. And then, of course, the wonderful thing of being able to understand the gossip, which is what I always wanted to know, which is what are people saying about me, and you do hear. And that's a great tool to have as a second language speaker.
Things in this country have changed. I mean, our learners, our school children, do an African language in the curriculum. That is going to be that must already be of huge benefit.
Indeed it is. And I'm so glad that they are doing that. I'm so glad it is being introduced. Sometimes not enough, not as many hours as Afrikaans, for example, in a second language program. Sometimes the teachers haven't had the kind of training that an Afrikaans teacher would have, or an English teacher. So all of those things need to be addressed. But the fact that it is being introduced is great.
En welkom terug na Onderwys Vandag. Ek praat met Tessa Dowling en ons praat oor Xhosa en hoe 'n mens dit kan leer en hoe maklik eintlik is dit om te leer. Tessa, you said you started learning when you were age 24. But you're very good at it. So how did that happen?
I wasn't very good at it to start. I knew the grammar at university of those days. They taught us purely the grammar. So the way I teach it now in my classes is very conversational with the grammar, but also the way people speak. And I think that's a huge difference is, do you teach language the way that you would like it to be, or the way it is in the textbooks, or the way it is in literature, or do you teach the spoken variety? And I certainly got better at it when I realized that I had to teach myself the spoken variety. So when I went to do my doctorate, for example, and live in little villages, you know, I was struggling. I was blank a lot of the time. I really, really struggled to understand what people were saying, because it wasn't the same as the language I was taught in the classroom. And I think that happens the world out with languages, that people don't learn the way people speak. I've actually got a a student of Xhosa in honors, but she's taught herself Chinese, the spoken variety, because the way she learned Chinese at the university, she said was too formal. And then she went to China as a Xhosa speaker, which I really love. And she said that she's had to revise the way she's learning Chinese, which is making it far more colloquial. And that is what I try to do in my classes. So the way I taught myself a lot. I think that's what, but now what I have learned about how you learn colloquial language is part of my courses.
Interestingly enough, for me, I had a guest last week, and we spoke about teaching English as a foreign language. So in a way, you are using the same process, that teaching English as a foreign language method, of teaching Xhosa.
I really do think I do that, because I try to put myself in the positions that people are going to need. What are they going to need when they're out there? And then, of course, I will explain the grammar, and people want to know that. But you give them those chunks of language that reoccur all the time. I mean, why would you have to learn, the puff adder is in the grass, and, rising, the mountain rises to reach the sky. Those are beautiful poetic things. But mostly you want to say, hey, I'm going to see you tomorrow. What time are you coming? Could I have that? Those very useful, you look gorgeous, those kind of things that you want to say. So that's what I try and do.
It's good that you say that, because when you are talking about the beautiful mountain reaching the sky, where do you throw that into conversation?
I absolutely agree. And I think, one tries. I tried that at the beginning, me sitting in the village, and basically people were saying to me, this road is bad. We shouldn't travel along it in my little car, which didn't actually get past the road, or just simple things, that I realized I just didn't have. So you do get embarrassed.
If you learn the phrases that people use every day, the hows, the wheres, the whats, your embarrassment level, in fact, when learning a language is lower.
It is. And I think that knowing that sometimes you are still going to get embarrassed is putting yourself in the shoes of the African language speaker who has to every single day speak Afrikaans or English in order to do their work, to say anything, and be seeming more, you seem more stupid sometimes. I felt very stupid a lot of the time speaking Xhosa, and it made me think, wow, but everybody who's learned English has to seem not as clever as the first language speaker. So when you do get that embarrassment still, which hopefully on my courses you don't, you just say, okay, this is what people have suffered for years and years and years. People laugh at me, it's okay.
What literature do you use when teaching an African language?
There is a lot of African language literature. There are children's books. There are wonderful sites for children's stories. There are sophisticated crime novels. There are classics like Maryanne, that Rots the Ancestors by A.C. Jordan. There are classic writers, plays, contemporary short stories, beautiful poetry coming out now in colloquial Xhosa, more sort of visceral. So there is stuff out there, and we use all of that. But interestingly, what we've now introduced into our classes is actually pop songs, because they are so lovely for students to listen to, and very normal language that appeals to, a particular demographic. And I'm also sort of diving into TikTok to find the kind of things that people are saying. So I know that's not literature, but certainly there is a canon of literature that we teach our first language students, and that we also do use with our second language students.
I'm kind of jealous, because I know Afrikaans literature, I know English literature, and that's it. So you lose out a lot on the culture, and in fact, as you say, meeting people, because you don't know how people think, how they behave, why they do what they do. So a language course like this one, where you incorporate everyday phrases and you're beginning to use TikTok, as you say, and pop songs, is really a way of getting to know another culture.
100%. I really feel that. And I only started going onto Xhosa TikTok because my students told me it's so funny. It is so funny. And people speak like a mixture. And this is what's happening to the language, which is part of the way I'm teaching it now, is they just mix languages, and it's easier to learn this way, the way they are using it. And it is hilarious. And the humor is self-deprecating. It is very funny about the characters that are on it. It is not a cruel humor. It's great. You really laugh out loud. Now, using it with my senior students who can understand it, it's just wonderful to hear, white students laugh out loud at this Xhosa humor. And I feel like we've been denied each other's comedy all these years.
Well, time for a bit of music again. And this time, give me a suggestion and we'll see what we can do.
I think a song that went across the world and is something that I love, that is a mixture of, Xhosa and Zulu, mostly Zulu, but is still such a great song, is the Jerusalema. I think we can dance to the Jerusalema, and it says, this is not my place. So it is also quite uplifting in a religious sense. So I know it is almost like a pop song, but if you listen to the words, they're quite profound.
Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana, ilondoloze, zuhambe nami. Dawo yami ayikholana, buso wami awukholana, ilondoloze.
Jy is terug by Onderwys Vandag en my gas is vandag Tessa Dowling, wat 'n senior lector is in Afrika tale by die Universiteit van Kaapstad. En ons praat met haar oor Xhosa leer.
En haar eie Xhosa kursus wat op die Skillfully platform sit.
Tessa, is it ever too late to start learning a language?
Never too late. I have students who are well into their 70s who have started, a reason often being that a member of the family marries a Xhosa speaker and they want to get on with that side of the family, and they know that that side of the family will speak English, but they want to be able to pronounce their names, say something, overhear the gossip at a family meeting. So I have a German student in his 70s who's been doing it online with me for 3 years. That's a private class, but honestly, he is so good now. He is so good. And it was just that, to me, thinking he applied his mind, he had a motivation, and we worked together, and he's speaking it and hearing it. I gave him some things to listen to the other day, and he transcribed it beautifully. So that's Germans for you, very organized. But in some beginner classes I've had recently on the Skillfully platform, these online classes I give, many of the people are, over 60 who are learning it, and often are much better than my young students who are still living their young lives at university. Their application to the task, their self-discipline, just everything they do somehow seems to me slightly more organized than my students. Not to diss my students who get 8 hours a week. This is only 1.5 hours a week that they get, but they really apply their mind. So I don't see any trouble with when you're older learning it.
There are other Xhosa programs out there. How does yours differ?
Mine differs in that I take my experience as a second language learner who has gone through various, in a way, iterations of learning Xhosa, doing it very grammatically, going to live in a village, then working in urban areas where the language is undergoing this amazing transformation to so much English, really, so much Afrikaans, So people will say, "Yo, ndi dom," I'm stupid. So all you need to know is ndi is I. Yo, abantwana bastout. These children are naughty, You will hear lots of Afrikaans, and I'm using that as a way to get into the languages that lots of people, when they speak in Xhosa first language speakers, are using resources from English and Afrikaans in order to make meaning, and not meaning just to English, amongst themselves. And this is becoming part of the new language, and it makes it so much easier for us. So I use that, never forgetting that people want to know, what is the Xhosa word for stupid, though? I will give it to them, but I'll say, most people say dom, I'm telling you. And they will say, ubu dom bam, my stupidity, and they will make an abstract noun out of it. So that's really great. And then the other thing I do is I use the TikTok, the comedy. I also realized that one of the things that many courses fail to do is train people to listen to the language, how it's spoken, and to be able to just train yourself. So we'll start off with slower Xhosa, then we'll go a little bit faster, so we might use an older person who speaks slower, not artificially making it slower, and then use faster Xhosa as they're going on. So training people's ears to listen, and then getting them to speak. So part of the platform is everybody is going to be given an opportunity to speak, particularly in this intermediate course that I'm going to be offering soon on the 15th of October on the Skillfully platform, where people are going to actually get a chance to speak themselves, just a little bit every time, doing some preparation, doing some speaking, because it's losing that embarrassment about, I just can't, I'm just going to go blank, I won't be able to say something. But if you have been in a class where you've been laughing at each other, and so my courses are normally we are laughing a lot of the time, because that's life. And one of the sort of philosophies I have about learning a language is you don't learn a language, you live a language. And by living a language, you become part of a community, part of a safe space where we can share and learn and tell our stories about how we're learning. And that's what we do.
So this is quite different from a university degree, a language course.
It is. It is a course getting people to go out there every day. Once they've done a chunk with me, an hour and a half, they have got things to do. Just a few. I never overload people. I know people have busy lives, and also just the fact that your memory, how much can your memory take? So never overload. And then they go out and use it. But like the university course, they always have access via a course manual where they can go, those who are interested. And I'm surprised at how many people doing these online courses want to know, but what is the grammar? How does this make sense? What are the patterns of the language? And they have that there too. But it's far more directly usable. I often think when I'm teaching at university, I wish these people were on my online courses, because they're going to be able to say more quicker.
So on the Skillfully platform, which starts, as you said, on the 15th of October, you are offering an intermediate course. Now, how does one know that you're ready for an intermediate course?
I agree. How do you know you're ready? My starting point was that this would mean if you had done a very basic beginner course. Basically, you've done the greetings. They take quite a long time to learn. And also with all these new greetings now, very, with a mixture of English and Afrikaans. So I taught that, but those will also be revised in this course. So basically, you've just done some basic greetings, basic introductions, some compliments, talking about the weather, you're good to go. You're good to join this intermediate course.
Xhosa actually isn't all that simple. I said earlier on it was easy to learn, but how easy is it to learn?
I think it's as easy as your teacher makes it. And I am somebody who had to make it easy for herself to learn. So I kept on thinking, how did I learn? How did I become as good as I am? And I thought is that I broke it down into easily digestible chunks that had enough repetition in order for it to hook into your brain. Because I have been on courses and observed courses where I think that's too much. You're just overloading people, but you're not giving them an opportunity to practice what you've learned what they've learned in class. You also not made it real for them. And so to make it real, to make it easy is my aim. And that is the way I design my courses, my Skillfully with 4 L's, my Skillfully online course. That is what I have really attempted to do.
In your opinion, what difference does it make when you can speak a language such as Zulu or Xhosa or Sotho, apart from English and Afrikaans?
It makes a tremendous difference. When I greet somebody in class, even the people who were on my beginners class last time, they said, oh my goodness, it has a profound effect on my relationship with African language speakers when I greet them. I didn't realize, just a simple greeting, how are you, how's your family, how are your kids, how's work today? They just said, oh, it's hot, not a lot. They said it was just profound effect. And for myself, I get people saying things to me like, you make me feel more me, and one of my beginner students saying to me, this guy said, you make me happy when you speak my language, because I'm a bit lonely here. My family's all in the Eastern Cape, and Tautetanam is even be happy. I feel happy because, Uteta Urimilwam, you're speaking my language. And she said to me, I never thought with my basic Xhosa I would have, this opportunity to reach out to people and forge relationships with them and know about their grandchildren and things like that she said it's just made a huge, and not just her, everybody that was on that last course told me these stories.
We live in this country with 12 official languages. Many of us only speak 2.
Yes, and African language speakers will speak those 2, but they'll speak their own. Then they'll speak cognate languages, the languages that are related to them. And then most of them, if they're Xhosa speaking, will know some Sotho, Sotho. So, they will speak Sotho. And once you learn one African language, the way they're structured is they all Bantu languages, and that is the linguistic term for them, are structured similarly. Even Swahili, if you're going to learn Swahili after doing also it's the same structure. So it makes a tremendous difference to start on one, and it opens up your brain to the way other languages are structured. And as you mentioned, Maryanne, before, it's also thinking, how you think about the world. How when somebody dies, you don't say they die, you say you die. And it's a part of you, that you realize that it's you that's going through that suffering. I've been died for by my mother. There's something in me. Or if somebody is lacking in your life. But in a sense, you're letting the dead person, the person who has passed on, really pass on. And you take your grief and deal with it. And to me, it's sort of released me many times, the things that were said in Xhosa, the way they were said. I mean, one of the funny things is, you never miss the bus. The bus always misses you in Xhosa. I love that. The bus missed me. And, it's those kind of things as well that just shows you just a lovely view on life.
And a greater understanding between groups and between language speakers.
Really a greater understanding. Just such compassion. Also our common humanity. The humor, the sense that we really are South Africans. We really do get on. We have imbibed much of what African language speakers say, but going into their language, that philosophy is there. And then the importance of family, the importance of place, of your original place, usugapi, where do you come from? Which people will often say, where did you bury your umbilical cord in Xhosa? So that they will say things like that. It's just the fact that people have to go home, home to do rituals. And of course, that becomes part of the course. I do teach some culture as well, but I know that most people know a lot of those cultural things anyway, just from being in South Africa.
But it's important to understand the language that they come from.
I think without the language, you are still a bit of a foreigner in the culture. And the language, no matter how little it is, gives you that insight. The fact that every Xhosa speaker's name has a meaning to when they were born. Siyakolisi, his name his long name is Siyamthanda, we love him. So the parents named him Siyamthanda, we love him. And then we shorten it to Siya. but not one name in Xhosa doesn't have a meaning.
So going home takes on a whole new meaning.
It does. Going home is going home to your ancestors, going home to where you feel the most happy, where you feel your family are, and where the rituals are performed. And those rituals are all conducted in Xhosa style. So I think that the language has an incredible cultural and ritual significance as well.
Your course, it starts on the 15th of October. Should anybody be interested, how would we get hold of you?
They would go to Skillfully with 4 L's, so that's skill, skillfully.co.za, and there they will just type in Xhosa, and they will get the beginner course and the intermediate. The beginner course has already run a few times this year, but it's the intermediate course, which is brand new, which is starting on the 15th of October. And that's basically for anyone who has done a beginner course or feels they've just picked up some Xhosa as the years have gone by and want to go into it in a bit more depth. This would be the course for them.
Fabulous. Tessa, thank you very, very much. And good luck with the new course. And everybody, hamba kahle.
Enkosi.
So, tot volgende keer. Ek is Maryanne de Villiers en dit is Onderwys Vandag en ek sien julle weer volgende week.